It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. First and foremost, to the President of the Legislative Assembly, congressmen and women of the Legislative Assembly who are with us here today, ladies and gentlemen, justices of the Supreme Court of Justice, colleagues, your excellencies, ambassadors, heads of mission, diplomatic mission, members of the public ministry. I'd like to greet our Attorney General, President of the Intelligence and Security Forum, Parliamentary Forum, to everyone here, heads of delegations from the different parliaments that now visit the land of El Salvador, and also members of the government cabinet, special guests, everyone here today. And this opportunity, right after this wonderful lunch, I'm going to have to talk about a subject which is currently on trend. I believe this is something that is currently reconstructing itself, and that is AI and the risks and challenges which we may face concerning the application of AI within Salvadorans justice. Those before me, I know, have spoken about the modernization of the state as far as a fight against organized crime. We all know there are three types of criminals: common criminals, organized crime, and institutional criminals. And of course, the judiciary is responsible of issuing the necessary penal-related punishment or decisions. Before I get started, when I speak of AI, I like to highlight, now that we're speaking of modernization and legislative assembly and so on and so forth, we have first and foremost a law for the promotion of technological manufacturing. This is in 2023. Then before that, we had the scientific development law, which was implemented by the Ministry of Education, and a law of administrative procedures. What does this have to do with me, you might ask yourself? Well, that law acknowledges a right, which to my way of seeing things is a fundamental right. What's fundamental right? With the right of every single person of being in touch with every single agency within the administration and every single one of the technological resources these may have. Now, I understand that these rights should be understood as a right that every single person has to be in touch with any AI application that the public administration is implementing. And it is very important that this is handled by the administration. In parallel, we have created the Cybersecurity and Security of Information Act in 2024, and also in 2024 we did the Data Protection Act. We passed the Data Protection Act, which at the end of the day, we are the only country in Latin America and the only country in Latin America that has a law to promote AI and technologies. How am I so sure about this? Well, I was just in an academic forum where El Salvador was mentioned over and over again as an example to follow in law. And and I actually had to present there as well. And I know that I spoke about AI, and this law meets every single requirement, international requirement. And the idea is to set up an oversight body. And this is a very important agency to oversee public policy and anything having to do with AI. As a result of this, we have a regulatory framework that we must understand systematically once it's applied, or for its application, and for its implementation. Because I know we've talked about organized crime quite a bit, and one of the challenges that the Salvadoran justice will now have to start facing more and more are cyber crimes, even those crimes or the misuse of AI. Now, we have other regulations or principles considered soft laws, and we have the Ibero-American Letter of AI for the Latin American Council of Public Development Policies, which was ascribed to by El Salvador in 2023, and then we have the European regulation, which is a 2024 regulation for -628 and issued in June of 2024. And there we have a series of issues. For example, in this case, the sentence of the Constitutional Court of Colombia, reference conviction 1023-1024, uses paradigm and the use of AI for the implementation of justice. So basically what we have here is we have adopted a system, a civil law system, which our laws tend to provide certain legal definitions, and there's a lot of discussion of what must be understood as AI, but in that sense, we're no longer going to have too many discussions, because our law already determines what AI actually is. AI, which millennials see as not artificial intelligence, but in Spanish, I guess it's anxiety and insomnia. So I guess it's because of all the learning issues and what they have to go through, but AI is exactly that, artificial intelligence. Now, what does the artificial intelligence law state? Well, it asks a computer to do many things which a human can do, but not to the same extent. So AI is the same human intelligence, but it's automated and processed in a language to be able to solve problems or even to set up rules. What's the objective behind all this? Is it an autonomous or semi-autonomous trajectory? And I think there's several different things, but we can definitely talk about AI, and AI should be used in any given platform of public policy and as a result in justice administration. And that's where it really does have example, automated learning, which is part of AI, and that's part of a very common word that we have been using for many years, and entails algorithms and statistical models who allow for a system to improve their performance based on specific experience and based on certain data, big data, or anything we may collect, without having to reprogram, and it's explicit for every single task. Meaning that if law for this tells us the road to follow for each and every one of the operators or each and every one of the public administration representatives, in this case for justice administration, and also sets up an algorithm definition. This is the last one that I'm going to refer to, so it's not too monotonous. So the algorithm says that this is a set of roles, and here we see instructions designed through human intelligence to solve a problem that affects different decision-making issues. So within the framework of AI, you make decisions. Some are linear, and I know we've been discussing so much in certain cases that when it's about authorization, AI behind an algorithm can determine if a permit is issued or not through the instruction provided through the different apps. But when it's about determining, or if it's about analyzing it's about basically running an intellectual analysis. The algorithm should behave differently, not as a way to solve, but rather as a way that will help solve these problems directly. Solving these problems because you have to set things up. And then within the framework of our AI, and I already mentioned this, we have a national AI agency, which is to the way of looking at the way I see things, a regulatory body that should promote every single public policy for AI. And it sets one with its main attributions, technical assistance. And I believe that technical assistance for every single agency or body, government body, and at the same time to create and manage the National Development and Innovation Registry and the rules to apply AI, allowing power of law to guide how that works and to guide public policy that answer to setting up AI. This law sets certain specific objectives. The first one is to promote a favorable environment within El Salvador. I know that many have spoken that there are many conditions for development, development, investigation, research for the different companies, for the administrations that should operate within the framework of AI, and to generate trust within the population in how AI is being used within the accountability principles, equity, and to have these systems operate objectively or impartially, avoiding risks. I know we're going to talk about risk, but in the use of prejudice or misuse of erroneous information. I know we've spoken so much about this, but I realize that there's so many people that work in politics, and we've spoken about the risk of AI during campaigns, political campaigns, and the misuse of that AI to commit crimes of every which nature. And at the end of the day, to see how these actions are implemented responsibly and a principle of responsibility. And it also sets, amongst other aspects, and to improve public service. So imparting justice is not a public service, but rather a public responsibility. And it's a public responsibility because it derives from a direct mandate from the Constitution, and so it has the necessary competencies and skills for the proper operation of every single bit of the government body. And AI agency must instill a certain governance, and as a judiciary, we should promote judicial governance based on best cooperation practices, even to solve specific cases and to carry out access to justice in a way that is more efficient for those who should require justice be served. Now, what should AI include as a matter of example, and judicial governance? I mean, that should be based in risks, and this is why the law for promotion should results in the law for cybersecurity, because we're dealing with people's rights. People's rights are definitely here in jeopardy. The right to non-discrimination, the right to equality, and other aspects. And of course, how may we use AI as far as the application of justice administration? Well, solving trials, research, and investigating facts in the law, applying the law or a specific group of facts. This year, I was just in as part of a forum for Supreme Court justices in Brazil, and I saw that Brazil's Supreme Court has a constitutional competition where they are able to summarize cases when they issue their sentencing. And this is an additional help for justices because it allows them to know the case faster. So it's easier. And this is a tool that they've created themselves to solve specific cases and make justice administration much more efficient. Obviously, administering justice plays a very important, pivotal role within every society, particularly with Salvadoran society, and it's important that we comply with the mandate from Constitution. That's fast and effective justice. And that shouldn't be a dream, but rather something that should be done. Obviously, these governances should be conducted in the necessary timings to avoid any sort of risk, and as well as to try these risks. We're dealing with anti-corruption practices, and AI represents a risk. And how do we fight these risks? Well, we adopt informative records, databases, and install the necessary software to avoid cyber crimes. And it's also important to have specialized checks for human and artificial intelligence.
Because we're not talking about the substitution of human beings. It is not like that. That will go against the Constitution. The Constitution says that the origin and the goal of the Constitution is taking care of the human being. So human intelligence feeds this artificial intelligence, and it's sometimes difficult it is difficult to summarize information, and AI can do this summarized in minutes. They can summarize the facts, history, the law, the frameworks, statistics, etc. That's why it is important to mitigate this risk in the misuse of AI at the moment of solving specific cases. Actually, with this flowchart that I present over here, as you know, or if you don't know it, I invite you today. I invite foreign delegations with respecting the privacy standards. Of course, we invite you to visit our judiciary center against organized crime, which was built in an iconic place of crime. It used to be a city, Soyapango, that was called Soya Panic. It was called Soya Panic because that was a place where you had a high level of danger or high levels of gang crime, and that's actually there where we have built the Center for the Combat of Organized Crime that has 24 judiciary offices. We're doing our job to give better technological conditions to these offices, implementing in the future very soon digital files and the use of zero paper to solve Salvadoran society problems and to help the Attorney General's office and all the people that require justice to work with due diligence to solve the cases related to these gang members or these terrorist groups, as the Constitutional Chamber says. And in regards of the use of AI, I would like to mention that we have the natural judge, any kind of judge. You always have a judge as it is established by the Article 24 of the Constitution. Of course, that judge must be independent. They need to have the necessary skills and knowledge, and based on the standards of our country, because as Attorney General mentioned, as the Minister mentioned, we come from a system that gave way too many guarantees, and we are transitioning to a system that combats crime respected to diligence, because we don't have to skip these constitutional guarantees or rights. We can combat crime respecting the Constitution and international treaties, but that doesn't mean that well, that doesn't mean that we have a problem with human rights. We And as I said, we cannot have the same measures for the organized crime and for the common crime. We're talking about people that will be hardly reintegrated to society. We have tried everything. We have established ceasefires, we have given them benefits already, but these people are still crime machines. Consequently, we need to establish the situations that I mentioned before. We have to avoid bias. Of course, we have to avoid bias to guarantee due diligence. And we even have to establish the elemental rules for the judiciary decisions. We're working on a documenting center, then we're working on building our own apps or own applications. We shouldn't depend on any other organizations. I'm not going to mention the name of other organizations, but were famous organizations that help. They should help us build our own things for our own administration of justice. We need to build this app for the supporting judiciary decisions. And another case that was mentioned by the attorney generals in the morning is the risk, avoiding this risk in having irregular situations and misuse of AI. For example, misusing digital evidence that can affect the rights of people. We know that for those situations, of course, we have to make decisions, and at least up to this moment, we're at least for now, we are able to use AI for the text correction, the summarize of cases, and other tools that we can use in our justice administration. And of course, and because of time, we have here the principles that we need to keep, and these are not my principles, these are stated in the law: no discrimination, avoiding bias, the non-substitution of human reasoning, ethics at the time of using AI, data protection, privacy protection, and of course the responsibility that comes from the misuse of AI. And not to take more than the 20 minutes that I was allotted, I want to share some final thoughts. Yes, I can say that the Kurt has worked even more on our digital protocols. This is a shared effort with all my colleagues, justices from the Supreme Court, and we are all working towards the same goal: to face the main challenges of this administration, so we can have a secure country with better economical development and better development in general. So I can say that as final thoughts, AI system must strengthen the relationships between the justice administrations and the population. We have to use it to make things simple. I'm not going to mention these bureaucratic challenges, but AI system must protect personal data and intellectual property. Pay attention to this. There is the decision issued by the Administration Tribunal of Mexico that says that intellectual property must be protected. We can not use, for example, AI for plagiarism. That is something that we have to take into account for or the judiciary decisions and at the time of implementing AI. And at the end, AI models, and this is something powerful. These AI models cannot replace humans. Humans who have creativity, emotions, individuality that will have to accompany our generations and all the judges that issue decisions based on the impartiality and objectivity. So that was my presentation. I hope that it was useful. I thank the organization of this forum one more time, and thank you for being here after the fantastic lunch. Thank you for bearing with me during this presentation, and we're gonna talk about this topic again tomorrow, which is going to be nice. Good afternoon, everybody. May God bless you all.
So much for those great remarks. On behalf of the Parliamentary and Intelligence Security Forum, we'd like to present you with this plaque.
This acknowledgement is also for all the friends or colleagues, justices at the Supreme Court. Thank you.